sort of seems like there's like the question around identity of, when do you be yourself? And when do you step into the character that you've created? And when we think of that, some people will point to the danger of playing a character all the time and never being yourself, right? But when we see that way, then it seems like we're attaching the idea of yourself to the idea of negative situations, negative emotional states, negative mental states, the problems you're dealing with. And we're just pretending that that's the real you. The real you is the things you're going through that nobody sees. That's the idea that is being propagated in that mentality, right? Where we say there's a problem with playing yourself, or when the character you're playing is different than the person you are, and the person you are in that scenario is always some weak type of identity. Like, that's always the person who is struggling when they're alone, and that's supposed to be the real you, and that's supposed to be the you that you should show everybody. I don't know where I stand on all that. I know it's not wrong to play a character, though, in the right circumstances. All circumstances call for different character. The whole idea of having built character, when push comes to shove or whatever, or there's something that calls for character. Have you built the character? Have you built the integrity or the fortitude or whatever the situation calls for, right? So it's not wrong to have built character, and it's not wrong to play a character. Everybody that you see and everything that you know and everything that you love is characters being played. And if you want to fact check that for yourself, then you can just look at them and see that it's not all their problems that they're showing you all the time, and they're not just that version of themselves that you say is themselves, the things that they're dealing with behind the scenes. And anyways, it's a whole stupid concept to consider that the real you is one that's dealing with all their problems in silence, and the real you is the one that's really struggling. That's just a bit belittling. Can't the real you be the one that created the character, also the character who's strong? Can't the real you include that aspect of yourself? Why does the real you have to be the one weak point? Why does the real you have to be what's hiding behind everything? You don't think the real you has strength? You don't think the real you is funny? You don't think that you can make things happen? The real you? So when we ask the question of identity, you've created everything that you are. If you're a little bitch, you're the one who made that. If you're conflicted, you're the one who put yourself in those conflicts. If you're broke, if you're unmotivated, if you're a liar, the liar isn't the real you. You're the one who made yourself be a liar. If you feel stuck, you're the one who got yourself stuck. If you're a victim, you made yourself a victim. And it's easy to just try to throw that mentality to the wind and say, no, that's not the case, because if that was the case, then I can just decide to be something else. But there's like a flaw in that whole perspective, because you think that because you can't immediately decide to be something else and make it true, that means that you didn't decide who you are now slowly over time, right? Because that's the way it worked. You decided who you are now slowly over time, over a whole lot of time. And you made that decision again and again and again and again and again and again. And you confirmed it here and you confirmed it there. And you asked for validation over there. You asked someone to tell me, is this who I am? And you wouldn't accept anything else but that answer, right? So when you play a victim all the time and you tell everybody your sob stories, you're looking for that. You need them to say, yes, that is what you are. And so you made that decision. You built that character slowly over time. You have character, but it's that character, and that character might low-key suck. You know what I mean? So you built that character slowly over time. And now you say, no, it's not my fault. I didn't do that, because if I did that, then I would be able to just decide to be someone else. Then I would just be able to decide to be strong. Then I would just decide to be smart, capable, bold, courageous, right? But you're neglecting the fact that you didn't just decide and it was so. You had to fight for who you are today, regardless of who the fuck you are. You had to fight for that shit. You had to stick it into the world and confirm in every which way you go, even if it was a burden to other people. Even if not just the character is a burden to other people, even if it's not just a burden that you're always a sob story playing victim, but even if it's a burden also that you were pushing it out there, that you were trying to get people to see it. You know, you had to fight for that fucking position. You claim that bitch as yours and you fought for it. And you say, it's not my fault, I can't change it, because that other character doesn't come easy. The character you are today did not come easy. Whoever you are, even if you're a weak bitch, that bitch didn't come easy. You had to fight for that shit. And so anything else that you might want to change to, you would have to fight for that shit. You're gonna have to put that into the world and all your interactions and be that and have it confirmed, you know, and have it presented. You know, whoever you are today did not come easy. And it took a great amount of discomfort to be so cemented in that mentality. You had to face situations. You know, you had to represent that character in situations where it might not have called for that character. You had to represent that character in all kinds of different situations. You know, you had to fall into that position. Even if you might have wanted to be in a different position, you locked yourself into that position and you fought for it. And so it would only make sense that in order to access the power that you used to do that, you would have to do the same process to get anywhere else. You have to fight for that position. You have to represent that position. You have to let it be known that this is who I am. In all areas of life. And it's not like a change, like a switch, like a bad thing. It's just a reallocation of resources. Right? It's just an understanding that this isn't the person that I need to be. Which is good. It's an acceptance that I want something else. An acceptance that I want change. That I want these other aspects of me that I didn't account for in building the character that I am to be represented. I want them to have a place. I want them to have a place in my life. It's an acceptance that usually when we're having this conversation, we're talking about developing a more valuable character, right? Or we're talking about building personal value, personal power. We're talking about being someone who can offer something to the world. And so in order to do that, we have to come to an acceptance that we have something to offer to the world. That would kind of be like one of the starting points, right? Because we won't be able to fulfill this character role if we're tied to the belief that we have no place in the world, that we have nothing to offer the world, right? So we would have to come to the acceptance that we have something to offer to the world, right? Otherwise, we're not going to feel justified in playing this character. And when push comes to shove and we feel the friction of, you know, when the first battles begin of fighting to be that position, you know, then we're just going to cave if we don't have the underlying belief that we have something to offer the world, you know. And that's pretty baseline. And it's logically implied, you know. You can find that truth through logic. It's not just a belief, a thought pattern, something that's like fucking only up here, you know, or only imaginary or illustration type of vibe. It's not just that. It can be found through fucking logic, because you have your own set of experiences and influences, which is true for all people. Nobody has had your exact life, so nobody has your exact little formula of perspective about life. And when things are rare, they may be valuable, right? If you're able to present that properly, if you're able to find its place in the world, then it has value, which means, just logically speaking, you have something to offer the world. And you don't need to go investigating that and criticizing it.